Broadcasting Company and WRAL-FM. Welcome to Wine and Dandy. I'm your host, Sarah King.
And I am your hostess, Jamie Caskey.
And wine is fun, and we intend to prove it. And today we have a fellow podcaster with us, and I want to use the terms that you gave yourself, the Wolf of Wine and young Thanos, who goes out and collects all the gems.
Well.
We have with us the host of Wine and Hip Hop podcast, Mr. Jermaine Stone. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, the young Thanos thing is just, I feel like I'm Thanos in his 30s. Thanos
Sure.
is thousands of years old, but if Thanos was in his 30s, he'd be something like this guy.
Early Thanos. Sure.
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome. I had to say it. All right. Well, I'm so glad you joined us. And for those of our listeners who aren't familiar with your podcast, give us a short description of what exactly Wine and Hip Hop is.
Yeah, Wine and Hip Hop is this fun podcast my friends and I started about 5 years ago. On every episode, I sit with an influencer from either the wine or hip-hop industry. I ask them to pick a song or a bottle of wine that is special to them. Mm-hmm. I select a pairing for their selection, and we discuss it on the show. Since COVID, we've had to do things a little bit differently. Yep. Certain episodes are now recorded over Zoom. So without us being in the same room, we can't drink the same bottle of wine. But we will always be talking about wine and hip hop culture. The story behind the show is I wanted to recreate my experience coming up in the wine industry, learning about wine. My background is in wine auction, and I've been working in that industry since I was 20 years old. So I was really raised in the wine industry. So I didn't have a classic wine education. I learned through sitting in and having conversations with collectors, distributors, winemakers, and I wanted to recreate that experience and really show people that the wine industry embraces hip hop much more than people would think.
Yeah. And
the hip hop community also reveres wine much more than people would think. So why aren't these two things getting together? Right. I just want to create that safe space for that type of interaction.
Now,
right.
Jermaine, let's go a little further back because you had aspirations of being a hip hop artist, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I rapped really all of my teenage years.
Cool.
I was on like XM radio.
Wow.
I'd done like small things. It was very different at that time. I come from the era where you were like mailing your demo into record labels
right.
and hoping that you run into a rapper in the street.
Right.
But no, I'd gotten myself into all kinds of situations. One time I met LL Cool J,
oh, wow.
and I rapped for him. Mm-hmm. And he was starting a label at the time. His manager, the head of the label at that time, a guy named, I think his name was Tony Rome. Mm-hmm. But I'd done a whole bunch of recording and stuff with him. But it was just like in a demo phase.
Right.
So I'd always gotten right to the cusp and not gone all the way. Wine attracted me. So yeah, like I was saying, I started in wine when I was 20. So as soon as I stopped doing music, I started working in wine. There was a little bit of crossover in the beginning, mm-hmm. but wine kind of took my heart over.
Well, my husband's a musician, and I have a feeling we're about the same age. And we also, I say we because, I've known him forever. But, when he was in his music career, and he did pretty well in the indie rock genre, there was a moment when he realized it probably wasn't going to happen, and there was a little bit of resentment. Did you have any resentment when you moved over to the wine world?
It's funny. That's actually a great question because I didn't have resentment necessarily for not hitting a certain point. Mm-hmm. I think that my resentment came with the energy of the rap game at that time. Like, I felt like it wasn't based on talent. Things were based on who you know.
Oh, yeah.
And, not based on how good you are.
That's so funny you said that, because that's exactly what my husband said. He's like, I'm good. I just don't know the right people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that got frustrating for me. So I literally just, I said, I'll continue to make music, but because I love making music, but I'll make music for me.
Right.
And that's even to this day, like just to get rid of stress, every once in a while I might record a song.
Oh, fun. Yeah. Well, we should point out that Sarah's husband also went into the wine business.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
So
he did. Yes.
Maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's a career path now.
Yeah. He works for a distributor. That's so funny. I can't believe I didn't even think about that. Well, let me ask you about wine and hip hop. What are the similarities that you find in those two worlds? Well,
I think that, it's like I was saying, I feel like both worlds have reverence for one another. Mm-hmm. Every time that I'd sat down for dinner with someone or drinks with someone, because of my background, that I'm more familiar with a hip hop upbringing. So that would be what I talked about. And I found that a lot of the people that I'd sit with in a lot of these wine settings didn't have the opportunity to get to know people like me. But they've heard of people like me through this art form that they love. Mm-hmm. So now here they are getting a chance to interact and ask questions that they've never been able to ask. Aside from that, I feel like hip hop it really is a luxury art form. Hip hop guys love bling bling. We enjoy luxury.
Yeah.
And wine classes up any picture, and all hip hop artists are doing is telling stories, and they use wine to create much more luxurious pictures.
Good point. Yeah.
And they tell stories the same way that sommeliers tell stories. The number one sales proponent for wine is its story.
Yeah.
So I feel like hip hop guys are just telling stories the same way that sommeliers tell stories when they're trying to sell you a bottle.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's sort of because then you're hooked in, then it's a relationship. Yeah.
Exactly.
I was wondering, because like you said, you were saying the people who you were sitting down with hadn't had a chance to speak to like a hip hop artist. Why do you think that people of color are so underrepresented, not only in wine production, but in wine consumption as well? And I think that, like you said, the hip hop community does drink wine, but to the outside world, people don't know that. And why do you think that is?
I honestly feel that it's just the people that are at the top in a lot of these wine companies don't necessarily understand my culture.
Yeah.
And I think that they've assumed that, all black people drink sweet wine. That's the only wine that they can get. Mm-hmm. There's never really been any investment to grow the knowledge base so that they can make a much longer term customer that you can sell more products to.
Right.
And that's a big part of why I started the company I did, is to create a dedicated effort towards African Americans. I think that it's just been a misunderstood market and people are just totally missing out. Yep. There's been an assumption that African Americans only enjoy sweet wine and spirits. The alcohol industry does great with marketing spirits to African Americans, but wine, not the same thing.
Right.
So I think that with education that will change, and I do see that changing a lot overall in the wine industry. When Black Lives Matter was really in the headlines, a ton of different organizations popped up that were really looking to get people of color into the industry.
Yep.
in a variety of ways. So I think that's going to change. And I feel like once the wine industry had a mirror held to it, they immediately
responded.
Good.
Exactly. Which is, which is the way it should be.
No, it says a lot. And it really just rings true to why I feel like our wine and hip hop concept works, is because, it's just a way for us to see each other. This this is a full cultural exchange.
Exactly. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and then Jermaine will be right back. I want you to tell us about Crew Love when we come back.
Follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Wine and Dandy Podcast. We'd love to get your questions. We are speaking with Jermaine Stone of Wine and Hip Hop Podcast.
Now, Jermaine, tell us about your personal baby. Let's talk about Crew Love Wine, please.
Yeah. Crew Love Wine is a creative agency dedicated to blending wine and hip hop in the most organic ways. And we do that in a variety of ways. We do that through consultation or creation and working with starting wine brands. Right now, we have a project with Raekwon from Wu-Tang Clan called Licata. Oh. It's a really great sparkling Lambrusco.
Oh, yay!
It's delicious, and it's an artist created product, not an artist endorsed product.
Oh, cool.
Again, it's us really focusing on authenticity to both wine culture and hip hop culture.
Gotcha.
Aside from that, we also do a lot of media projects. We spoke about our podcast, Wine and Hip Hop, but there's also Wine and Hip Hop TV and several other shows which we create branded content for different customers.
Okay.
And lastly, we also do events in person and digital.
Do you do tastings, that sort of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So the way that I see this is we're truly creating a wine and hip hop culture because we have the product, we have the conversation around the products, and we have the activation with the products.
Right, and the personalities.
Exactly. So this really creates an all-encompassing world where it's just a full cultural exchange between wine and hip-hop people.
I love everything that you're saying. I think it's a genius idea. And, circling back to what you were saying about education, of course, the more people know, the more that they'll taste and the more that they'll like. It's so short-sighted to just pigeonhole.
Yeah,
and so many communities are affected by that, like the bigger bodied community is often pigeonholed and they're stuck in two stores in the mall. And it's so short sighted. You couldn't be more right. You mentioned Raekwon's wine. I want you to tell me more about this. It's so interesting to me that Raekwon developed a Lambrusco.
It's so unique. It's, it has these great lush fruits. It's very, very special. It's, the bottle is completely designed by Raekwon. The juice in the bottle was created based on the flavor profile that he described. So it really is an artist's expression in a bottle.
You mentioned that it was a sparkling Lambrusco. Is it a classic Grasparosa? Is it more of a Di Sabara? Like, is it a lighter style or a darker, thicker style Lambrusco?
Yeah, it's actually a much darker and richer style. We extended the maceration period by 6 weeks. So it sat with the skins and really soaked up some richness and color during that time. The bubbles are a bit over Spumante level, so we like to call it a super Lambrusco.
I'm down with that. Bubbles are my favorite.
Now she's drooling. I hope you're happy.
Yeah. Bubbles are my favorite. Yeah. Any form I can get.
And it's super well balanced. It's not too sweet. It's very I wouldn't even call it fruit forward. You taste lush fruit, but it's super balanced, very gulpable. You'll want to drink it on a hot summer's day.
Sarah calls those porch pounders. Isn't that ladylike?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a porch pounder, baby. Let's do it.
Sometimes you got to do it.
Licata is definitely a porch pounder. I will say that.
That's a good recommendation.
Who would we most be surprised at being a big wine lover in the hip-hop industry?
Most surprised at being a hip-hop lover in the
No, I had that backwards.
Industry.
A wine lover in the hip-hop industry. I got that
backwards.
Right.
No, I you know what? I heard it backwards, too. So
it's like, yeah. It's been a long day.
Everyone knows Jay-Z is a big wine drinker. Actually, you know what? Big Daddy Kane
Really?
Big Daddy Kane is a big wine guy. He loves wine. I mean, you see him post about it constantly on his Instagram. Like there was one time he was like packing for a tour, and the entire suitcase had wine.
My kind of guy. I could hang out with him.
Yeah.
So his green room is stocked nicely.
Exactly.
Okay.
Big Daddy Kane and another guy, Noriega. He's a rapper from Queens, but he is a big wine guy. I actually ran into him at this festival. Obviously, this was a couple of years back, Complex Con. Mm-hmm. And we started hanging out just because, like, I was in the green room with a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
And there was no wine in the green room.
He's like, you are my new best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he was a cool dude. But we ended up hanging out the whole day. It was like a dream. I listened to this guy when I was in high school.
That's awesome.
Hey, I was running around with him at a music festival.
And I have one more question for you. Well, topic really. I've been reading in Wine Spectator this month and in Food and Wine, and your last episode actually, there's been a big movement with wine and sports. You had Will Blackman on your most recent podcast, and in Wine Spectator and Food and Wine, they had Carmelo Anthony and all the NBA players who are super big into wine. Can you speak on that relationship and how it's grown, and any trends you see going there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I had so a while back, I had this gentleman. He's a journalist, Baxter Holmes, on the podcast, and Baxter wrote that. You remember this Sports Illustrated article where they first spoke about LeBron James embracing wine, and it was that first thing where it was the big news that every NBA player was really getting into wine. So I had him on the show, and I talked to him about this, and I spoke to him about the connection with hip hop, because when you look at the culture of the NBA, these guys subscribe to hip hop culture.
Right.
You can tell what type of music they listen to, how they dress. These guys look like hip hop artists. They look and sound and act like hip hop artists in several ways. So I think that the more that hip hop has embraced wine, I honestly feel that has cleared a path for NBA players to embrace wine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because it speaks to the whole culture. You have a guy that, like LeBron James, for example, who looks up to Jay-Z and hangs out with Jay-Z. Obviously he's going to also be inspired by Jay-Z, who's someone that talks about wine in his raps. And, the list goes on, like all the top rappers, guys like Nas, you name it, from top to bottom, they're speaking about wine. So I think that it's more of a reflection of what's happening within hip hop culture.
We can't thank you enough, Jermaine, for your time today. And thank you so much for your insights and your recommendations. And you're just fabulous. And your podcast is really fun to listen to. I love that you throw the music element in. I think that Jamie and I should try to figure out, some way to put music in our podcast, because all we do is talk, and I know people get sick of it.
We're probably going to start singing, Jermaine.
No.
I love it. I love it.
That's probably a good idea.
You just hit me up, and I'll drop a verse.
I was going to say,
let's collaborate.
That's right. Let's go. All right. Thanks so much for your time. And we look forward to the day when we can all travel again and be going to wine things, and we will meet you face to face, and we can enjoy a glass of delicious sparkling Lambrusco together.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. And please email me your addresses. I'd love to send you guys a bottle of Licata.
Oh, that's about to happen right now.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Send it on.
Thank you in advance.
Thanks so much, Jermaine. Cheers.
No,
Cheers.
This was great. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Take care. Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. He was such a nice guy, Jermaine Stone.
Oh, I know. He knows a lot of stuff about a lot of stuff.
I think he is more well-versed and more connected in the wine world than we can ever hope to be.
We should become his new besties, and
It's true.
by extension.
And he's going to send us that Licata, which is real exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited.
That Lambrusco. You know I love some bubbly, red
I
or
know
white.
you
Bring
do.
it to me. Hey. Okay, so let's get on to the tasting portion of today's episode.
Oh, do tell.
Okay, so if you remember back, I believe it was a good month ago, perhaps a month and a half.
Sure.
We heard about American Airlines, how they were going to release their wines.
Because you always associate an airline with a really good vendor.
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I will be tasting these wines. And so I went about it and I got some. I was surprised that it just wasn't a bottle that said white or red.
I assumed it would be. Sort of like some other, when we're like, we're going to try this, and all the bottles look the same, slightly different colored.
Yeah. No. There was lots of different choices. So I got a half case.
Okay.
It's a long roundabout story about how I got this half case.
She really committed, guys.
I did. I didn't mean to. And I committed with the boss's card, but I fixed it. So if you're listening, Sammy, you're good, I promise. But if an erroneous charge comes up in your card, let me know. I'll make a phone call. So I picked out the 2 chillable wines.
Appreciate that personally.
One, I think it's going to be a bold red, and we haven't delved into there, but we'll get there. Let's start at the beginning. So the first wine we're tasting, and this kit was kind of cool that came into the mail, that it offered you 3 separate recipes that some of the wines would go with.
I'm impressed.
There was a magazine that came with it. There was the featured wines that they offered. They gave tasting notes with it.
Oh, very nice.
So there was like a whole, so if you were to order this, you really would get educated on the wine they sell.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
You're not just flying blind. Everybody get it?
Oh, no.
I'm here all week.
We have arrived. Get it? Arrive.
We
Arrival.
arrived.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Zero. Okay. Brian and Kyle on the morning show have grown to hate my puns, which makes me love them even more.
I was going to say. You're
the
the pun
jokes,
master.
not the guys. Yeah, exactly. All right. So this first one is a rosé.
I'm
It is-
already excited.
Yes, and this is apparently not a featured wine because it did not come with tasting notes.
Oh.
So this must be the rosé you order and get. I'm not
On
sure.
the plane.
On
Sure.
the plane.
Sure.
Where are you going? Going to Fresno. Okay, I'll have a rosé.
Right.
This is what you'd get, I think. I honestly don't even know how to say it. Mellifluo. Oh, there it is. Mellifluo. You say it.
Is it mellifluous?
Oh, Mellifluo.
This is the name of the business at Mellifluo, which and it looks like it's so cute, little piano keyboard.
Yeah. I don't know. Since there's no notes, I don't think it tells you what the wines are. Let me read that first. All I know is it says this. Are you ready? It's lovely. Mm-hmm. At Mellifluo, we specialize in handcrafted, smooth, harmonious, aka the piano blends.
Ah, yes.
Our ethereal dry rosé conjures memories of sun-dappled hillsides overlooking La Mer.
Oh, the sea, guys. That's the sea.
With
Nice.
delicate notes of white floral, not what flowers, but just white floral. Perfect as an aperitif and with all delights from the sea. So I'm assuming this pairs well with seafood.
Yeah, I would guess. This is my first full week. I did some partial weeks. This is my first full week back in the office, so I'm very happy to be drinking.
Oh, and I also have to tell you something that's going to make me want to drink this too. Let's smell it first.
By the way, I think it smells terrific.
It does. It smells really. I put lotion on like an idiot. If you're ever out to go to a wine tasting, never put lotion on before you go in because all you'll smell is your lotion.
Good point. But
yeah.
Oh man.
Okay. Can't go wrong with it.
It's a very nice rosé.
The thing about rosé is although we have had Tavel, which is the only appellation or area in France that specializes in rosé, but most of them kind of taste the same to me. Some are a little bit more acidic.
Yeah, some
are
are
a little more fruit forward. But yeah, so this is a lovely middle of the road.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how much it costs because it came in this pack.
I've got to say, I really like this. If I saw this, on a shelf, I would buy this. This is a very nice rosé.
Yeah, and you can get it at Vinesse or Vinesse, like finesse, but with a V, .com. That's where all of this is through. But I had a hard time finding the American Airlines. So I had to search American Airlines wines, and then within the Vinesse or Vinesse site, they came up.
That's VINIS.com?
VINISSE. That's why I think it's Vinesse.
Like finesse, but with a V.
Yes.
Okay.
I just said that. I don't know.
Did you? Wow. You know what I am, Sarah? A good listener. I was using my man ears. Just kidding, gentlemen.
No, you're not.
But I'm for real. I'm serious.
I know. I get that. No. So as I pour us the second bottle, and then we'll talk about it, we lost 2 of our $35
Glasses?
Glasses. The ones that Riedel sent over, the wine wings, in the same day.
That's a bad day. I've only, so far, had to say goodbye to one. That's how I'm
the first one broke in the dishwasher. Then Eddie told me about it. And then I put another one in the dishwasher because he told us in the he
said
told
we
us
could do that, and that's a filthy lie unless they're by themselves four-cornered.
Well, it was. That's the thing. It was in there. It wasn't touching anything. I just didn't. I had 2 prongs, but for some reason it was still jostling around.
Yeah.
And then there's a way you can put it in our dishwasher where you put it in 2 prongs again, but it won't move. I guess I just had it in a point where it jostled, and Eddie pulled the drawer open like the beast that he is, and the stem broke off.
Snapped the stem. Yes, that is so sad.
I know, $35. And then on another piece of news, my in-laws, while we were gone, when they watched Luca, I forgot where we went, somewhere, and they broke one, but they bought another one to replace it.
Clever. But
we had no idea.
That's very nice.
I know. They must have thought we were so highfalutin.
Yeah. No, I know. They were like, we can't afford to break these anymore.
Why are they buying $35 wine glasses? We're not. They were a gift.
Funny related story. So my oldest is moving to California. It's a very long story. But anyway, he had brought back from their house hunting trip a Stanford University Medical School mug. It's a long story.
So you can look like you went there when you drank out of it?
No, because his girlfriend's doing her residency at Stanford. So then they left town, and then Steve broke it. It like immediately used it, broke it, and boom, replaced it. And unless he's listening to this, he'll never know.
Okay, well, on that note, let's drink some Chardonnay, shall we?
Let's drink to deception.
So this is called Maison des Jardins, the House of Gardens. Yes, and the label you're going to love. It's beautiful.
Oh, it's lovely. It's one of the
tiger lily.
Oh, I was going to say daylily. Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's a tiger lily. It's so pretty. It's a French wine. It's from Pays d'Oc. I don't know how to say this. It's in English. It's Pays d'Oc. Let me see. Pays d'Oc.
Yeah, that would be what it is in English. There you go. I'm going to give that back.
Okay, great. Well, it's from that region. I'm going to go Pays d'Oc. Oh, man. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
There's a story.
Oh, I do love a good story.
Okay.
And I have a glass of wine for this.
Okay, wonderful. Wars, especially world wars, often have unintended and surprising consequences. As an example, during World War II, women's swimsuits gradually, quote-unquote, grew smaller, evolving first to the widespread 2-piece design and ultimately to the bikini, deemed a new fashion.
Where's the wine coming in?
I'm trying to read ahead. I didn't read this before, as you can tell. Deemed a new fashion standard in some quarters and downright scandalous in others, the bikini was created by French designer Louis Riard.
Here we go.
1946. The same year, a handful of grape growers, anxious to take their destiny into their own hands, formed the Society of the, in English, producers of the white wine of Le Mans. During the 1990s, they renamed it something I can't pronounce. Since its beginning, the house worked to promote artisan wine. That has nothing to do with the bikini.
Yeah, they just like a story.
Thank you for nothing. Anyway, well, there you go. Now we know what.
You know what I think? I think they were drinking this wine when they were like, I think I can work up give me that pen.
You know the thing about bikinis? I like drinking this wine while I'm in one. Okay, so Chardonnay.
Smells terrific.
It gives you a lot. So it says drink this now through 2023. And this is a 2019.
It's very good. It's not too buttery, which I don't particularly care for. I like it.
It's a little bitter. Oak. It's been aged in oak barrel. Wow. It doesn't have that malolactic butter business going on. It has seen oak, but not a. And it says our tasting panel score 91 points. It's leading. Our tasting panel.
I was going to say, if you and I made a wine and we were our tasting panel, we'd score it higher than that.
Yes. Listen to the wine points episode, and you'll learn a lot about these points you see in the car. That's back in the archive.
Very deceptive, yeah. But you can find our podcast on that. It is very interesting, and now every time I look at the points thing when I'm buying wine, I'm like,
I always look to see who gave it. Yes.
Me too.
Okay. Well, that was surprisingly delicious.
Also delicious.
Were I on a cross ocean flight to France, I'd be super excited about that.
Both of these are good.
Okay, let's go to the red. Red's where you really...
Yeah, it's where the rubber meets the road.
Well, this is a Bordeaux.
Oh, very nice.
I picked a Bordeaux because I'm afraid of Bordeaux's. I don't know why. Bordeaux scares me.
I'm very proud of you for embracing your fear.
Thank you. Yeah, this is called LaCroix. LaCroix.
Like the water.
But it is just like LaCroix water, which is hilarious. And it's part of the reason why I picked it. And it also is a featured wine. I wonder if it's got a really silly story attached to this.
See. You know what I think about earmuffs? No, tell me while we talk about Bordeaux.
What? I'm just kidding. It's a magic word among aficionados of the red wine world.
Okay.
Bordeaux. And then it just talks about the grape varieties, which in Bordeaux, these are the 5 grape varieties you'll find in all of them in different variations.
Interesting.
Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Malbec, and Carmenere.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that last one.
It's very inky. And in general, this is true. The left bank is known to be a Cabernet Sauvignon.
Okay.
Dominant blend. And then the right bank is known for its Merlot dominant blends.
Well, I hope this is right bank because I know how you feel about Cab Sav.
You got me, girlfriend. And it doesn't tell you.
Oh, this one's a surprise, though.
It just says a proprietary blend including Cabernet Sauvignon and Merlot.
I wonder if they make these tasty notes, these lengthy tasty notes because they're figure stuck on an airplane reading about the wine.
Yeah, but I ordered it. I mean, perhaps if you were to order a bottle of wine when you're on a plane, you'd get all this business.
So is American, invested in these wines? Like, how's that work? How are these American wines, American Airlines?
I wish I knew the answer to that.
They keep it pretty vague over there at AA.
Yeah, and I didn't dig as far as I should have, I suppose, but I did do some digging and I didn't find that.
Yeah, and it was hard.
Advertising to me.
Okay.
To be perfectly honest, like our cellars and our sought after wines. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe this is what people experience in first class.
Oh, yeah. Well, we would
never know. We would never know.
Only assume they have nice wine up there.
In Coach, they get the box of Franzi out, red or white. Sorry, we only have
get that.
White Zinfandel.
When we flew last week, I was taking a trip that had been postponed because of COVID. They were very clear. We're going to walk by. Don't take your mask off. We're going to tell you what the drink is for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Flash your fingers. There you go. It was 3 Coca-Cola products and a water. That's your option. I was like, I'm happy to get it, sir. Thank you.
I bet you if you pulled money out, they would have given you wine.
No, because someone in front of us, a guy, tried to a couple of seats up. And they were like, we don't have it. Again, we have 4 things. 1, 2, 3, 4.
While in first class, they had their own personalized oxygen tanks.
Yeah, right. They were like...
And at the touch of a button, a wet bar emerged.
I can only imagine. I like how they shut the curtain so you can't see those people.
Well, so you can't drool with envy.
Right.
Anyway, here's the first class. Let's give it a whiff. Smells raisinated.
It smells like I would assume a Bordeaux would. It smells like something that I personally might not enjoy, but I'm going to try to wait till I sip to make that commitment.
This smells raisinated to me. It smells overripe.
Which typically, and I love raisins, and I like that smell usually. I think it just smells like it's going to be a little too much heavy tang.
We'll see.
Someone who, wow, it has a lot of heavy tang.
That is dry as a bone.
I was not off the mark.
Oof. And it's been aged in oak. That's that grip you feel. Yeah, very grippy. This is Bordeaux, though.
Yeah, people who like Bordeaux would probably really enjoy this.
I don't know if really would go in front of it, but we
tolerate
it. I just can't. Bordeaux, people who love Bordeaux, they're very, let's just say picky.
I feel like we've just chewed on grape seeds. It's got that kind of bite, and we are not enjoying it.
No.
Yeah, but you know what? If you are Bordeaux enjoyer, you would really like this, or you would like this LaCroix d'Argent.
You know what it says? That it should taste like? Blueberry. Do you get that?
Absolutely not.
Do you get red fruits?
No.
I get currant, maybe.
I don't.
Blackberry and chocolate. Chocolate I get.
Oh, yeah. I can get a really dark chocolate. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, there you go.
And now we know. So if you're ever flying first class, or presumably any class soon on American Airlines, these will be available to you?
Yes. I mean, maybe inquire. Maybe the next time we go flying, if any of you go for a flight, by all means, ask to see the wine list.
Yeah. And then drop us a line. We're super, super available.
Yes. You can find us online at our Facebook page, which is a really good way to get in touch with us, Wine and Dandy Podcast. Also on Instagram, Wine and Dandy Podcast.
And on Twitter, Wine and Dandy Podcast.
Oh, you made the change.
I fixed it.
You're so good.
Anyway, thanks for hanging out with us. Please contact us. We'd like to chat with you.
And remember, when you're drinking wine, the guys just get friendlier and friendlier.
Apparently.